Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to a special story that I wanted to show you today on my YouTube chess channel. It's about the top grandmaster from Croatia, Bogdan Lalić. Bogdan Lalić is really a cool guy. I think he plays many tournaments. He's sort of a guy who travels a lot. He's basically just playing chess. We would love to live sometimes like that, okay, but well, what the more important thing about Bogdan Lalić is that he's trying also to help other players. He plays many simultaneous exhibitions, helps kids out in order to motivate them to maybe continue to play chess. And the most important thing for me was that Bogdan Lalić, I had the opportunity to meet him one time. He texted me per Gmail. He texted me many of these commented chess games, and the commented chess games are really more important than just these computer evaluations, because then you know this why is there a good move, why it's not a good move, and the comments that Bogdan Lalić has also written are great. That's why I had a better preparation in some openings which bother me, like the Grünfeld, like the pseudo Benko setups, and with his commented chess games I had then after that some success with some great examples, and that's why I decided to thank Bogdan Lalić through this video. And I wanted to show you his best moments of his career, because back in the 90s Bogdan Lalić was around 2600 rated. He was really a strong grandmaster, and how strong he was is the fact that he won the game against Judith Polgar. So I'm not gonna introduce you who Judith Polgar is, but Judith Polgar is really one of the best women grandmasters in chess history. And as we chess players always like to joke, I won a Lalić game. It was in a bar, although against Bogdan Lalić. He made sort of a mistake, allowed me to create a distant pass pawn, but I was basically lost, and that was only one game that I won against Bogdan Lalić and managed to get a draw. So I won the game against Bogdan Lalić. Bogdan Lalić has won the game against Judith Polgar, and Judith Polgar has won the game against Garry Kasparov. So I would probably beat Garry Kasparov, but okay, I'm just kidding. In this video I'm going to show you the best moments of Bogdan Lalić's career. Here is the game. It's the critical position between Bogdan Lalić and Judith Polgar. Here it's Judith Polgar to move. She played the move bishop to g4, attacking here the knight. This is really a dynamic position in the game. Lalić decided to fix the position with the move e4, and here queen to b4 was played, which was sort of an idea to finally grab this pawn to liberate the bishop. Here is this also this threat to play bishop takes f3 after g takes f3. For instance, if the queen leaves the defense, then you have some weaknesses in front of the king, and here Bogdan found a great move. Bishop to c7. Here bishop takes f3 was played, and it's not about taking the bishop immediately. Here Bogdan played the accurate move. Bishop takes a5. You see how great tactically he prepared was. After queen takes a5, we have queen to f3, and now Bogdan goes into an endgame in which he has he's a pawn up, and against him, it's I think he would win this game against anyone, because he's a grandmaster, and one pawn up is simply too much here. In the game, knight to d7 was played, queen to e3, trying to protect, of course, the dark squares. Here we have rook to c8, and now f4 after queen to c5, queen takes c5, knight takes c5, and now very nice move, e5, closing the bishop. And I'm not going to show you the whole game. Here Bogdan is a pawn up. If you, for instance, take it, it's not a problem. We have simply a takes b3, and now this pawn central control, I think, is too much to handle here for Judith Polgar, and after many moves Bogdan managed to win the game. Please watch the video further, because we'll have also some great tactics here. This was really he wrote me that this was his most important win in his chess career. Winning a game against Judith Polgar is really a great accomplishment, and congratulations to Bogdan. Here is a game in which Bogdan wrote me that he had the best tactics here, that he created the best tactical shot. His opponent, also Grandmaster, played the move f5. Here Bogdan played knight to g5. We have f takes e4, and now bishop takes e4. In the game, knight to f6 was played, attacking the bishop, and finally bishop to b2. There are some threats by the Starks for bishop. In the game, knight takes e4 was played, and now queen takes e4. The problem for Bogdan here is that this bishop is really aiming here against this Starks for bishop, and the key protector of this d5 pawn is of course the knight on c3. So if the position clears for the bishop, then you lose your very important bishop on b2. But here after knight takes d5, Bogdan found a really great tactic. He played the move queen to e6 first. King to h8 had to be played, and it seems now that knight to f7 is a good move, but it's really a bad move. Of course, Bogdan didn't play the move. After rook takes f7, we don't. You cannot take the rook. That's the problem, because you get knight takes c3, bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3, and in this position, black has a comfortable game with the two bishop against the rook. Here you have light score problems, so this wouldn't be a good continuation here for white. So that's why after the move king to h8, Bogdan plays the accurate move. He plays the move knight takes d5 first, giving up his bishop on b2. We have bishop takes b2, but now knight to c7, an in-between attack on the queen. The problem about this move is if you, for instance, try queen to c8 in order to trade off the queens and simplify the position, you get queen takes e7, and there's no way you can protect anymore this checkmate on h7. So that's why in this particular position his opponents tried to move queen to d8, but now Bogdan found a great tactic, and again he played the move queen to f7, again threatening the same idea to create checkmate on h7. After rook takes f7, we have knight takes f7. You have to move the king, of course. King to g8 was played, and now knight takes d8. We have bishop to f3, trying to grab at least one of these knights, but now you have this in-between move, knight to e6, and here after bishop takes d1. The problem about these bishops that you can only take only one rook always, so that's why you have to decide bishop takes d1, rook takes d1, bishop rook to a2, and now rook to d3. In this position his opponent resigned, because there are maybe some threats if the position allows you to go somehow with the bishop on d4, but you can cover everything and you have an extra piece. That's why in this position his opponent resigned. So it was a great tactic to give up here this bishop on b2 and simply activate the pieces. The knight on c7 was really a monstrous knight, and that's why it was really a great tactical beauty here by Bogdan. Here Bogdan wrote me that this was his favorite move in one of his games. It was against Anthony Miles back in Hastings in 1995. Here you can pause the video and try to find the best next move. It's really a beauty. It's really it doesn't win immediately, but you have to see this move in order to make some kind of a progress here. The problem is, of course, your pawn on d6 is hanging, so that's the main issue here. Here Bogdan Lalić found the move queen to g6 and offering the queen, but there is this problem. If you try, for instance, f takes g6, then you get h takes g6 and it's checkmate. You can just bring the queen in between, but it doesn't help you. So that's why after queen to g6 we have queen to f6. Bogdan played knight to c3, improving the position of the knight, trying knight to e4. In the game, knight to d4 was played, knight to e4. We have queen to f5. Now finally, this is a very important move, d7, deflecting the queen a little bit. That's why here queen to d7 had to be played, but now knight to g5, a very important move to create some dangerous checkmate threats on h7. So that's why queen to f5 had to be played. We have queen takes f5, knight takes f5, and now knight to f7, creating this very dangerous check. King to h7 had to be played, but now very important move also, h6. You see how Bogdan is keeping attacking. He's just using every moment in order to keep his opponent occupied, to make him react. So if white has to react here, then you're gonna probably lose the game. But now keeping him busy is really an important idea, creating the simple threats after the move g6. Now knight takes e5, and this is now a better position for white, because you have always the problem about around this g6, because now the bishop can go on d3, and this will be our main target in negotiation of the game. So here knight to d6 was played. Here we have bishop to d3, rook to f6, and now rook to c1, trying to get this rook on this file, again creating some dangerous check. Rook to e8, and now f4, fixing the knight. If you evaluate the position, now all of Bogdan's pieces are on the best squares. The knight is centralized, the bishop is on a very active diagonal, the rooks are on open files, supportive also with this supporting also this very important pawn here, which creates also some damage. This pawn on h6, rook to e7, and now rook to g1 again, trying finally to crack the position around this g6 square. Rook to e6 was played, and now we have bishop to c2, we have rook to e7, and now rook to g5, getting the space control, getting our rook much more active, maybe with the ideas also to double up rooks on the g file. Rook to c7, and now a3, creating some breathing space. Then you can play much more freely with your king. You don't have anymore some threats on the first rank, so you could maybe leave your rook from the first rank. In the game, knight to e7 was played, and now rook to g1, knight to c4, and now finally knight takes g6. We have knight to d2, not a problem. Here we have this very important square, king to a2, knight takes g6, and now bishop takes g6. In this position, Anthony Miles resigned. This is too much to handle, these two extra pawns, and it's of course a completely winning endgame here for white. Here Bogdan showed me also his biggest blunder in chess. So grandmasters also make huge blunders. Here's the problem about this position. In the game, his opponent tried the move rook takes d5, and Bogdan played first this accurate move. He played the move queen b8. This is a very important move. First, this in-between check, so black needs to react here. And after the move king to g7, Bogdan has the opportunity to immediately force black to resign. The evaluation is +9 here for white, and in the game Bogdan played the move queen to b2. He made a mistake, because it allows now black to play the move f6, cover everything, although white is slightly better here, but it's an endgame. It's an endgame perspective. You have only one extra pawn. It's really hard to win the game. You have to play like, I don't know, Stockfish or Lila C0 to win this endgame. So here you can also pause the video and try to find the winning move. Keep in mind that this is the threat here, the attack by the queen on the rook. So this is the threat to take out the rook. So you have to be active here. You have to find the tactical shot. And it's a very great move that Bogdan unfortunately missed here. He should have played here the move f6. f6 is a killer move, because let's see possible continuation. After queen takes f6, you're leaving of course the attack on the rook. So here simply bishop takes d5 is the opportunity, and it would be game over. So if you, for instance, take out with the king, then you have simply queen takes f4, queen takes the knight on f4, and again it's game over. The same idea, if you play king to g6, then we have this in between check with the bishop, and then you simply again take out the knight on f4. Here if you try king to h6 again, then here again you pardon me, if after move f6, if you try king to h6, then we have again queen takes f4, and it's game over, because this taking the knight comes out with a check, and this is the most important thing, so you don't lose your rook on f1. Okay, this was really a huge blunder, as I said, +9 evaluation for white. Here Bogdan showed me also one of his good opening preparations. Here we have d4. Bogdan played here with black. He played a Grunfeld defense. I have to a little bit move the board. Sorry about that. Let's move the board a little bit down. Okay, here Bogdan played with the black pieces, a Grunfeld defense. Here c4 was played, we have g6, d5, we have the common Grunfeld setup, the exchange variation after knight takes d5, we have e4, also a common idea of whites, knight takes c3, b takes c3, bishop to g7, bishop to g5, and here after c5 the game becomes really critical. His opponent left the defense a little bit around this square c3. Here rook to c1 was played, and now castling, knight to f3, and now bishop to g4. It's a common idea of white to keep the game tensed around this knight on f3, because the knight is the key defender of this d4, and still white is 2 more moves far away from castling, so it could be a problem. In the game, d5 was played, so here white releases simply the pressure now in the center, because the serious threat around the d4 was too much to handle, I think. And in the game, f5. This was a great opening move here by Bogdan, splitting the pawns, trying to open the f-file, because as I said, white didn't castle, so it could be a problem. In the game, e takes f5 was played, rook takes f5, bishop to e3, and now king to h8. Also very important move to get out of this potential bishop to c4, and then maybe some d6 ideas, or queen to b3 and similar ideas, because the bishop is a little bit blocked out, cannot participate in the defense on light squares. King to h8, we have c4, and now bishop takes f3, g takes f3, queen to a5 with the check, bishop to d2, queen takes a2. And still you have to be careful here, because it's an open game. White has the bishop pair, you have an extra pawn, but you have to be careful. As I said, in the game, bishop to h3 was played, and here Bogdan played rook to e5, king to f1 was played, and now knight to a6. Here bishop to f4, and this is what I liked about this game. Here Bogdan left the rook, and it's not a problem, because still white has to secure the king first. Basically, white is playing without this rook. This rook hasn't participated in the game. After knight to b4, we have bishop takes e5, bishop takes e5. And the problem for white is here now that white cannot create some checkmate threats. You would love to simplify the position and create some dangerous attacks against your opponent's king. But this bishop, not that it only is a great attacking piece, it's also a great defensive piece. It covers all of the important dark squares around the black king, and the activity of this knight is simply better than this bishop's, because this bishop, although it has a good activity, it's aiming into nothing, and you don't want to have bishops like that. You don't want to have bishops on the most active squares. You want to have them attacking something. You want to create some maybe dangerous threats against your opponent's king, but this bishop is basically out of game, and this knight to b4 idea is a very important one. It leaves now Bogdan the opportunity to create a very important pass pawn, which is the last square of this pass pawn would be a dark square, and it's supported by the bishop. So this is a huge difference. If this would be a light square, maybe white has some fighting chances, but this is now the main strategical element of Bogdan's to create this distant pass pawn situation, to create some dangerous threats with a simple pawn. In the game, king to g2 was played here, bishop to d4, great move, simply attacking. You see, this is why we're gonna probably answer this question, how to become a grandmaster. You see how Bogdan uses this simple threat as a main strategic idea. Simple threat, activating pieces, improving the position of the pieces, keeping his opponent occupied. Bishop to d4 forces white to react, rook to f1. Now we have this move, a5, very important move, marching on with the pawn. f4, we have a5, a4, simply continuing to push. Bishop to e6, okay, this was a good move, I think, by white, but it's a little bit too late. Again, I'm not seeing a clear way how white should proceed. On the other hand, black has a comfortable game. Black has simply here the move, which is a great move. Also, queen to b3. If the queens are off the board, then this pawn would simply, I think, promote this very easily with knight to c2, then followed with knight to a3. It's supported by the bishop, and it would be a lost game here for white. So queen to g4, not a problem. We have again a very nice attack. Knight to e3, attacking the rook. d6 was played, not a problem. You see how great this bishop is. It covers everything. It covers every single square around black's king. And here rook to b1 was played, not a problem, because here Bogdan find again great tactics, attacking the queen. If you take, of course, then you lose the rook on b1. So that's why again sort of a reactive move. And now again the same idea, queen to d3, getting out of the attack. Again, if you take, you lose the rook, but from another square. If you trade off the queens, then knight takes d3 followed by a3, a2, a1 is really dangerous. So knight to d3 here was played anyway, but now rook takes b7. Again, it's not a problem because we have a3, f5. It's a little bit too late. We can simply pass through. H4, again, not a problem. G takes h4. Bogdan is simply not scared about the pawns. Here rook to b3 was played, knight to b4, rook to h3, and in this position his opponent resigned because you cannot do anything. Here we can play simply a2 and it would be game over. So here Bogdan showed me also his best win against the best player he played. It was the game against Alexei Shirov, and I don't want to tell you things about Alexei Shirov. Alexei Shirov was really one of the great tacticians, really one of these old school Russian chess players with some great tactical preparations. He was really a tactical beast with some queen sacrifices, rook sacrifice, and Bogdan outplayed him really in a tactical battle. This was a game in a Najdorf, and here after queen to d5, you can pause the video and try to find the best next move, because it wasn't hard, it wasn't easy to see this move, but there is one problem about this position. Bogdan played a very active game against the legendary Alexei Shirov. I hope you can find the move because it's a great deflection move. It's the move bishop to g5. If you, for instance, take the bishop on g5, then you get rook to d4 and your queen is trapped. That's the main problem here. So that's why in the game Alexei Shirov had to retreat with the bishop. This is the main problem. After bishop takes d2, we have queen takes d2, and look how Bogdan plays now chess. He played rook takes e4. Now we grab the pawn. A pawn is a pawn, and it's a central pawn, so it means this is a favorable continuation for black, although black has the bishop, but it's so far useless. Even if you take out, still the queen can retake, and then we would have two centralized pawns. They are really unstoppable. In the game, f6 was played by Shirov. Okay, he tried to open the position. Simply g takes f6 was played by Bogdan. He wasn't scared at all about this attacks, potential attacks. Queen to h6 was played, and now queen to g4. Here bishop to e3. Now we have f5. Great move. Queen takes d6 was played, but now knight to e6, closing really the position. You see how Bogdan keeps the pieces compact. Rook to e1 was played, and now rook to c8. Queen to d3, we have b4. Also a very nice positional move. This pawn basically stops both of these pawns. If you try c3, then we can take, so it stops a little bit a fast progress of white, so white cannot create some pass pawn situations here immediately. Rook to f3 was played, and now h4. The threat was of course to play rook to g3 and trap the queen, and in the game rook to f1, and again Bogdan finds the next attacking move, again with a simple threat idea. Rook to d8, queen to b5, and now f4. This again creates a simple threat. Again, Alexei Shirov has to resign, and Alexei tried the move queen to b7 and simply knight to g5. In this position, Shirov resigned. So I'm not sure. Bogdan told me that okay, Shirov probably is the stronger opponent, but he really surprised him here. He really outplayed him here, and that's what that was an incredible thing, because Shirov, you have many of his videos on YouTube, how he analyzes games, how he smashes opponent. Here in this tactical battle, he lost against Bogdan, and this is really a great accomplishment. Congratulations again, Bogdan, for this great win against Alexei Shirov. So here is a great example how Bogdan got outplayed by Vugar Gashimov. Vugar Gashimov unfortunately passed away. He was really one of the most talented chess players, but it was really a sad story about him, and here he played against Bogdan. And again, you can pause the video and try to find the best next move. Vugar Gashimov saw that, of course, he really outplayed Bogdan here. But here in this particular moment, Vugar Gashimov was already 26 and 50 rated. His peak rating, I think, was about 27 and 30 of Gashimov, so he was really a top Grandmaster. Here, you can pause the video and try to find the best next move. It's really a great splitting move. It creates some dangerous attacks. In the game, here Bogdan tried the move c5, and Vugar played the move rook to f6. This is a great move, grabbing some space, because if you try g takes f6, you got really kicked away, because queen to g3, you have only one square, king to h8, and now queen to h4 loses immediately. You cannot do anything, it's game over. So if you try, for instance, king to g7 in order to defend it, then I think e takes f6 is perfectly fine. Then rook to g3, splitting here the queen, and again it's game over. So in the game after rook to f6, Bogdan tried rook to d8. He wanted to create him some space, but now queen to h5. Again, let's see the possible continuation after g takes f6. Rook to g3 is this main threat. King to f8, queen to h6, king to e8 you have to pay, but now bishop to b5. You have to cover with some piece, with the rook or with the bishop, but whatever you do, you get rook to g8, and you have to cover with the queen, and it's game over. So that's why after the move queen to h5, Bogdan tried to escape, but now rook to g3 anyway. c4 was played, attacking the bishop, but now rook takes g7. Great combination by Vugar Gashimov. In the game c takes d3 was played, if you try king takes g7, then you get queen to h6. That's the main problem. And now queen to h7, again it would be a checkmate on h8 here. So in the game, as said, here c takes d3 was played, but now rook to g8 played by Gashimov, really smashed here. After king takes g8, we have rook takes f6, and basically you can try maybe f5, but you get checkmated. Rook to h8, here king to g7, and now rook to h7, and it would be game over. So great game by Gashimov. And in the mail that Bogdan wrote me, he answered to some questions also. It was a great questionnaire sort of that Bogdan has sent me. Here I wanted to show you, pardon me, it was not that. Just wait, I have it prepared. Okay, I'm gonna just upload it. Okay, it's almost there. So he wrote also to me, the greatest effect to me had the games of Akiba Rubinstein. I was then about the age of 15, and I switched from e4 to d4 after that, and started to answer e4 and with the classical e5. Learned most in chess from my coach Vladimir Bukal Sr. He taught me to play French defense with black on e4, Benko gambit with black against d4, and Fianchetto systems against white Queen's Indian, King's Indian, and Benoni, and also which is very important, c4 English opening with white. Then I used to learn from the books the games of the famous Hungarian Grandmaster Lajos Portis, who was an expert of Fianchetto variation of King's Indian with white. I would start learning chess another way then, and I would learn more of the open openings with white starting with d4. So this was probably his biggest regret. My best win I'm proud of was winning the strong Frankfurt West Rapid play in 1995 with 9.5 out of 11. Later, this tournament moved to Mainz. However, I was not rewarded for this win in the next year, playing the second invited tournament below group giants. Difference between super grandmasters and grandmasters is in knowledge of endgames, and in opening super grandmasters I think work together in groups with the best coaches. The most useful advice I got was never go into time scramble. So this is a great advice. I'm trying this to hang on to this advice also. I'm not trying to get in time pressure. That's a really huge aspect of a chess game. I think don't get in time troubles. And well, the most important thing about Bogdan Lalić is that he and Sergei Tivyakov claim to have played this world record in chess without losing 110 consecutive chess games. So now, in the last month, Magnus Carlsen broke the record, but it's also really a great accomplishment. So Bogdan Lalić hasn't lost a game for 110 games, and he deserves really all of our respect. As I said, check out his Facebook page. He gives you every day a nice strategical problem, nice tactical problem. He has really a great site. He's very organized. He has a great and many of these commented chess games, as I said. And okay, thank you, Bogdan. I hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, check out his games. He has really some great games. Meanwhile, you can watch my other content on my YouTube chess channel. If you have maybe such a story like Bogdan Lalić, if anyone can answer, at least I think it should be a grandmaster, if he can answer to these questions, what was his biggest game, the best game, the biggest loss, or similar ideas, you can introduce me, you can text me, maybe I can do such a story like this. As I said, check out some my other content on my YouTube chess channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.